What questions do you have? You're 18 and feel misunderstood. How can you find your way forward? Well, one, it's an amazing age, but also a lot of transition. And welcome to young adulthood. Because I think a lot of us, I know, if you ever felt misunderstood at 18, put a heart in the comments. Just want to see if I don't think I'm alone in that experience. Breadfruit growl, Carrie. Yeah, so it's just part of that human journey. But what I would say, it's actually something I was going to talk about anyway. What helped me is learning how to listen to my own inner compass, which is a big part of the work that I do. You can hear it in the songs I share regarding mindfulness, which is one about grounding, regulating your nervous system, which is really, in more technical terms, is breaking the cycle of codependence, meaning we need people to understand us for us to be okay. Our emotional well-being depends on the environment around us or the people around us, versus us learning how to do that from within, cultivate multiple emotional resilience. But then the next part is healing. So I always say grounding, healing, and transformation. So first you have to be grounded, otherwise your subconscious mind is going to keep you in the pattern you've been in, because that's what's running the show 95% of the time, whether we realize it or not, quite unconsciously, a lot of it. But then the healing, a lot of us may think of healing as like, okay, I had a cut and now it's healed and now everything's okay. But there's still a scar there, right? And so the way I think of it now, I used to think of it in that way too, but now I think of healing as the capacity to hold suffering, right? We expand our capacity to hold suffering, especially when we're talking about emotional healing, because we've experienced something and we've found our way back home to ourselves, our deeper version of ourselves. So to me, healing is equivalent to compassion. So once you've cultivated that emotional resilience or healing or compassion, then it's about transformation. It's like, where are you going, right? And why are you going there? So a really powerful practice for me has always been asking what I call heart, H-E-A-R-T, questions, which are really about connecting with your intuition. I use the word heart, but you can sub asking questions to spirit or intuition, but it's about cultivating a clear understanding of who you are without the pushback of others and how much you've been performing or masking because of the environments you're in, or really your relationship to those environments through the lens of codependency, but cultivating interdependence. And then getting clear within yourself and allowing that process to help you transform your relationship to things, your direction that you're looking for. Trying to find a job that aligns with you. And I think the rub is there's no, as much as we like these clear, linear, paths, that's not how life works. It takes a lot of experimentation. And that's not just because you need to experience to get the real knowledge of if you like this job or the city or whatever it is you're not sure about. But it's because of the illusion of conventional designations. It's what Eastern traditions calls it. And conventional designations just means the labels that we put on things, and the illusion aspect of it is that those things are static and they're finite. So who you are now is who you'll always be. And as someone who hated the idea of me playing guitar to now doing it always, to once being very religious and now more spiritual, who's a shy, introverted kid who never saw myself in front of people or sharing or speaking, to now doing that and it bringing me the most joy. We are a dynamic process. And in fact, everything is a dynamic process. So You have to learn. The reason I teach mindfulness and advocate for mindfulness is so that we stay present. The thing about staying present is being available to the new knowing of right here and now. Every moment something new is unfolding. And a large part of that is you. That's why each morning, right, you're in a different mood. You may be tired one day, excited the next. Waking up at different times, having different ideas in your head because of what someone mentioned at the bar, or club, or restaurant last night, or wherever you were. Because we're in a constant energetic exchange as we are right here and now, right? And so that's why cultivating a practice of getting to know yourself really well, being dialed into your own intuition, your inner compass, is key to finding that job or career that's whatever decision you're making in your life. Yeah, and sometimes you need to hide in the mountains, right? And being clear about your intention, which is really one of the most important things. And when I say intention, I don't mean your goal. I mean your state of being, right? What language do you use to express your state of being? And I don't just mean happiness, but your intention. What are you creating actively when you go into space to step into a creative consciousness, right? Versus a victim consciousness, which is what a lot of us show up with. Hello, welcome. We don't realize it. We wouldn't call it that, but once we do call it that, you can see how we're in resistance. Don't get on my nerves today, right? Don't make me mad, right? We give away our power. Someone else can make us mad. That means we have our little red trigger buttons available to them. And so what really helped me out when I was around your age, in college I started journaling. And it was an intuitive thing because I was at a point of big transition and making a big decision. I had to break down my own barriers of what I thought a man was. Right? Men don't journal, we're tough, we don't have emotions. And I was going through a big heartbreak, and so I started, couldn't sleep for several months. And I kept seeing intuitive signs about journaling. Someone mentioned it, and it felt like drawn to it. And finally one night at 2 a.m, I just grabbed I was in college then, my college notebook, and I just started writing everything that was on my mind. I didn't have any real intention, I was just writing everything. And I probably wrote for 30 or 40 minutes, filled up like 10 pages. And after that, I just felt lighter. I didn't solve anything, I didn't fix anything, but I realized how much I was holding in me that I didn't know how to express or communicate or lay down. And so that's where this came in, right? RISE is an acronym. The first letter is for release. And so you just write, stream of consciousness writing, letting everything go. To clear your energetic canvas, to clear all the noise in your mind. It doesn't have to make sense. To clear yourself of the state of judgment that we are in perpetually, that we can slide into unconsciously. Allowing yourself just to write in your own space. Can you speak your free mind when no one else is watching without fear, right? You do that on the page. And then after you've done that, then you get into inquiry. So I started just asking myself questions, and these are what I started calling heart questions. And it was the why of it all. Well, why am I doing certain things? What is this part of my personality really about? This habit, this thing, right? And I would write, and then I would just pause and wait for a response. And in that kind of surrendering to not knowing, or to the fact that it was kind of in my blind spot or subconscious, I would get information, right? So I grew in self-awareness, that was the S. And I would just kind of transcribe the wisdom from my intuition, my heart space, or spirit guides, whatever language you want to put on it. I always just say heart. I own it so that I cultivate self-confidence at the same time. And sometimes it was some let me hold your hand information. You're not all that you think you are. Right? Sometimes you've led people astray and you betrayed yourself. You didn't do it consciously. It was the way you were trying to protect yourself. It was an unconscious pattern. And so some days at the beginning, I would feel heavy often because I was seeing those parts of myself I didn't want to admit were there, which is where the last part of the practice came in, E for empowerment. So I was like, I can't leave with just this knowledge and the heaviness. I want to empower myself. And so I began to, with whatever new insight I got, started writing affirmations regarding, okay, how do I want to shift my pattern? So that was the affirmations. And then the intention was, well, what state of being do I want to embody as I practice these new behaviors? Right? And so for me, when I get on these lives, I don't necessarily have a plan or a focused goal. My intention, the state of being I want to embody, is to be a conduit for grounding, healing, and transformation. It's about embodying that energy, and that could mean anything. I can do that talking in silence. We could sit in silence and feel the grounding nature of the sounds of nature, or our own energy, or that discomfort, that tug, that expectation that, oh, just play a song for me, or oh, distract me from all the things in my mind, or even that rushing feeling that we may have because we're training ourselves in these apps to just have another hit of dopamine every 7 seconds, right? When we scroll, we want that new surprise every moment so that we don't have to feel what's underneath the surface, our discomfort, our anxiety, which is really, right, a lack of self-love, of self-acceptance. We have so many conditions on ourselves and on our happiness. Life has to be a certain way. And so when you set that intention, it opens you up to the present moment while still maintaining a creative disposition with life in alignment with yourself, your soul, your heart's wisdom, right? And so I would encourage you, M, who's trying to figure out, I'm taking a very full answer because this is part of what I was going to share anyway, what my intuition was leading me to share today. It's beautiful how that just kind of worked because I don't usually get that question. But I would encourage you to journal, be present to the fact that we're always exchanging energy and that you need to find a way to siphon it off, a release. Journaling is a very easy entry point because it's not as jarring as sitting in silence and stillness and meditation. You're active still, you can have your background chill vibes, music playing, and just write. And then you can ask yourself those questions and hold space for the answer. And then once you get that information, take another deep breath, ground yourself, because it can be heavy or frustrating sometimes to notice certain aspects of your life or process through big decisions and relationships, and then be intentional. But that habit every day is building a brick on your path, right? Building a foundation for your home, right? And this is how you know yourself, and this is how you get comfortable with being misunderstood. Because the fact of the matter is that no one will know you ever in the full capacity that you do. And still, at any age, you'll find if you talk to someone who's genuine and vulnerable, that they're still figuring out things about themselves up until their final day. So let go of this, you have to be one particular thing, and you have to know everything, especially at 18. Are you kidding me? Any of the adults here, I just made 40, and I made some of the biggest shifts in my life in the last 5 years or so. And I'm just now settling in to the most authentic version of myself. And I think many others can relate to that. So, Emily, I encourage you to journal, sit down with yourself. And actually, what I'm going to be doing, not this Monday, but next Monday, September 8th, for 7 days, I'm going to do a journaling challenge. This is the Rise Journal. You can find it, links to it on my bio. But pick up a copy or don't. You can join me. I'm not going to charge anything. Oh, hi, Macy. Welcome, friend. Good to see you. But it's very simple, and I lead you through it while playing the guitar and guiding you. And we'll take about 5 minutes just to release stream of consciousness writing. And think of it as an energetic release of everything on the page. It's meditative journaling is what I call it. So we take a moment to breathe in to our energy, just a few breaths. And I'll ask you an intuitive, hard question to cultivate that relationship with your inner knowing. And you lay the pen down for that, right? You write the question, then you lay the pen down. And then we take a few breaths, maybe a minute or two, and just tune into our inner wisdom. Don't let the egoic cognitive mind run wild. Tune into your intuition. And then, once you've heard from it, you write what came through. Sometimes it's images, sometimes it's audible. For some people, it's sensations, or a combination of that and more. And if you didn't hear anything, I like to speak to my intuition in moments when it feels less connected, to encourage that connection, or just to be present to my current state with it. So some days I'll just write, I don't hear a response or a clear answer to this question in this moment, but I trust that my heart, my inner knowing, will speak when it's ready. And then with whatever new insight has arisen, we move into the last portion, which is empowerment. So we set conscious affirmations. What are you creating? And then intentions, right? Which again are states of being that you want to embody, which makes you a conscious creator, but also available to whatever life is going to co-create with you. So if you want to join me, I encourage you, if you're following me already, to put on your notifications. And if you can't make it every day, I'm going to create a sign up in the next day or so that I'll be sharing, that you guys can put in your email address, and then you'll get access to a place on my site where I'll be hosting all the recordings, so that you can gain access whenever you want and come back to it. I found that in certain seasons of my life, I'll spend months with one question and get new insights every day. It'll likely be like 8:30 a.m. Central, I'm guessing, give or take. And I'm working out the details later today. So if that resonates, you can find information about that at my website, asoulcalledjoel.com. And if you can't do it at all because of your work schedule, within this journal, whenever you, if you get a copy, there's a QR code at the front that gives you access to 30 guided journaling sessions. So that's like 15 hours of me taking you through the process when I've done this in the past. And we even have some guests on the first 7 days, some good friends of mine, including India Ari. What's also cool, I'll share this and then maybe we will get into a song, is one of my favorite things, my version of meditation, because I came to it intuitively before I studied and got certified as a meditation teacher, is I learned through the book Miracle of Mindfulness by Thich Nhat Hanh, which was the first meditation book I read. He was talking about micro-meditations. He didn't use this term. He was talking about a book that all the monks use called Essentials for Daily Use. And they had all these mantras, phrases that they would say during daily activities. But they had all these mantras that they would say whenever they're doing daily activities. And so, like, take washing your hands, right? How many times a day do you wash your hands? Hopefully a lot. But washing your hands, I hope that every being has pure hands to receive reality, right? So you slow down and you have that intention to be present, right? To the feeling of your hands together, the water, the soap. And also, you're tuning into the collective, right? With love and intention, instead of thinking about what just happened or what's about to happen or planning lunch or whatever. And this is everyday awakening, right? So I had seasons where I started incorporating that. I just started with, maybe the washing your hands or the dishes or other things I would do. And I realized that it doesn't matter what you're doing. Anything can be a meditation if you have focused attention with a conscious intention, right? And that's what they were doing. And so that happens naturally, I think, for some of us, especially for me as I play guitar, or anyone who plays sports. Maybe you've been in that flow state, but you can get in the flow state washing your hands or going for a walk or making coffee. I remember making my tea became a meditation, right? Tea meditation. So I would, as soon as I picked up the kettle, I started cultivating a sense memory. And that's when things changed in my life, right? So you may have a sense memory, or maybe the easiest way to explain this is through trauma, right? Like say, I had a friend who had a dog who was in a car accident. The dog had gotten hit. Thankfully, the dog survived. But anytime the dog came to a street, it was shaking in its boot. It had that sense memory of what had happened on that road, right? So, of course, we got to work through and heal that. But we also have sense memory with other things in our lives. Like you hear a song and it takes you back to, a romantic moment or a nostalgic moment. And you can consciously create a sense memory with things you do daily that help keep you grounded and in an awakened state. And that's something I started doing with my walking meditations when I'd go for long walks and hikes, and I still do. Or when I'm making my tea in the morning, having a conscious intention for universal love, or to open my heart, or practicing meta-loving kindness blessings, or awakening to the new knowing of now, right? Setting the intention to be available to witness what I've never witnessed before about myself so that I might heal and grow, right? Break self-sabotage patterns. All that to say, it's like we make it complicated because that's our expectation in this world. But if you look at all the other beings in their natural habitats, in their natural state, life isn't complicated. Doesn't mean it's not difficult at times. I'm just saying it's not complicated. Right? So the animals, they wake up. When it's time to eat, they go eat, sleep. If they are hunters, predators, and they have to chase down their prey, that's the work. And then they relax, right? And we are animals. Our egos would have us believe that we are, so much more than that. And indeed we are, in a spiritual sense. But I think our ego can betray us or create this illusion that we shouldn't approach our life just as simply. To be present to the impulses that arise, whether it's physical impulses to eat, sleep, hydrate, or spiritual impulses to just follow a gut leading, right? One direction or another. So, if all of that speaks to you, I hope you guys will join us. We're doing the Rise Journal Challenge next week. You can get a copy of the journal. You can find information about it at my website. And I think what's really beautiful about it, we say this word surrender, or at least for me in my interpretation. And I had absolutely zero intention of doing this. Or I couldn't even see myself doing this, because for a long time I was a musician and only a musician. But I knew there was had a rich spiritual life. Spent a lot of my time in reading and meditating and curious. And I had an intuitive knowing at 35 my life would kind of change. I'd open to that. But before that I was just playing music publicly and having amazing conversations in a rich private life. But when things fell apart, it was a difficult season. But I decided if this was going to be the time where things fall apart, let's break it all the way down. Let's get to the roots of all these weeds in my inner garden. And let's make sure that when I come back, everything is going to be freaking amazing, right? So I isolated myself and decided I was going to surrender to my intuition 100% every day, even if it gave me the craziest things to say or do or not do. And slowly but surely that meant, moving from New York City, where I was playing music and writing, and it was also COVID, so I had no work as a performer, back to Texas to deal with some old childhood wounds with my parents and siblings, which was super uncomfortable. But now we're in a much better place, and I love them more than I thought I could. And then slowly I would get intuitive hits that led me to just tune into a state of flow and connect and go live, because I had the intention to create an energetic portal. In my meditations, I realized intuitively everything I knew I needed to know was coming in, but I just needed to access it. And so I wanted to create energetic, safe spaces for people to connect to their intuition, their inner knowing. Because I can't tell you anything you don't already know. That's why a lot of this just feels like a reminder when it lands. It's because it is. And so then I did that and hung out like a lot of you, beautiful souls that I've been hanging out in your lives lately. And for like 7 or 8 months, it was just me and like 7 people just hanging. I would just improvise over random tracks from like chill hop or some Marvin Gaye, some soul music, and let me talk in between. It was so much fun, so liberating, because I wasn't attached to the outcome. I was doing exactly what I wanted and needed to do, even though I was working through some deep pain and a divorce and a whole lot of things. And then over time I kept being led intuitively to different people or different books. And I remember coming upon Michael Bernard Beckwith's book, Life Visioning. If you guys know Michael Bernard Beckwith, he's the, I think, lead pastor or reverend or preacher. I don't know what title he likes to go by. But of Agape, kind of universal church in Northern California. And in the meditation, he leads you through several meditations in the book. But the last one, he asked this question: what is God's idea of itself as my life? What is God's idea of itself as my life? And before that, he takes you through like levels of consciousness, like victim state of consciousness, manifestor consciousness, and then finally as the divine, one with all, right? So the question is, what is God's idea of itself as my life? So I was out walking, listening to this audiobook, and I just sat down at this park. Yeah, Michael's great. And just had this crazy visual, and I was leading people in meditation and giving talks and sharing in different places, like just images and images and images and images. I'd never had that thought ever in my life. And I was like, okay. I wasn't in total resistance, but I was surprised and was staying available. And then, funnily enough, I got on a live stream that night after being on for like 6 or 7 months. And someone out of the blue said, I don't know why, but I feel like you should lead us in a meditation. And I just started laughing. I was like, okay, sure, why not? And so I did a nervous little loving kindness meditation, and I was fine. Then a month later, my friend India calls me and she says, hey, I have this scholarship to this meditation certification program, and I couldn't think of who to give it to. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Joel, duh. And I was like, huh? I was like, okay. All right, universe. Like you can't make this stuff up, right? The book is called Life Vision, like vision, your eyes, Ning, Visioning, Life Visioning. And so here I am taking this course, this training with India. We're comparing notes and going through all of these things. And slowly but surely things just kept unfolding. Even the rise churner. On here, you guys, or those of you who were in there 3 or 4 years ago in these lives, were asking me what was my process. Because I'm a very kind of flow kind of person. I need room. Maybe that's just my creative side to kind of experiment and let things be different. And so I sat with it. I was like, what do I do? And I sat with it. I was like, oh, it's this. This is really what I'm doing. And it's a framework that I use, of course, journaling, but also in my meditation. It's just a releasing, letting everything go, tuning into a question. That's insight meditation, and there's self-awareness, right? And there's empowering, which is kind of a mantra practice. But these were all intuitive things, and then I'm learning. It's like, oh, I'm already doing these things. And then you remember, it's like, oh, everything is made up, y'all. Right? There was a first person to decide, hey, this is how you meditate. This is what happens when I sit in stillness long enough, and teaching others their protocol and their way. So it just gave me the freedom and license to engage with it in a more open way. And over time, it's become what it is today. And I share with you here. I do music, I play, still write. But I also lead a community. I was doing one-on-one life coaching for a while through the lens of mindfulness and sharing in retreats. And I'm doing something, or combining all the things that I love in a way I didn't think was possible, let alone something that could become a way of earning a living, and also being comfortable and having all the free time I want, after the mornings anyways. But it's about surrender and tuning into that intuition. And I think that's the issue with our world these days, is that we keep looking to these external structures that are given to us, as if these are the only ways to exist in the world, or that we have to fit ourselves in. And we try so hard to fit into these things, only to be disappointed most of the time, not always, and be frustrated. Like, I did everything I was told to do. I did it the way they said I was supposed to do it to find happiness, yet I'm not happy. I don't even like this. It's a noble thing. It's a good thing in the world. This service is needed. I do know how to do it. I'm specialized. I'm trained. But I'm so disconnected from this thing, right? And that's the frustration with the world. You go into a business established, you can feel it, because people are out of alignment with themselves, right? So learning how to cultivate that relationship with your inner knowing, your instinctual wisdom, like every other animal on this planet, right? Which, just like the trees, even, right? Everything they need to be a perfect oak tree or sweet leaf tree or birch tree or beech tree or whatever they are was already there in that seed, right? When they were born. And we are the same. But we have to reclaim it, because we grew up in a world where we're taught different and programmed differently. And all that stuff gets stuck in your subconscious mind, your default mode network way of being by the time you're 7. And then we all have to go on the hero's journey to get to middle age. And hopefully we'll wake up enough to do the work. And hopefully there isn't so much responsibility on our shoulders that we are more stuck than we need to be, right? Or want to be, to break free. I guess you're never really stuck. It may take a little bit more work depending on your situation, but I strongly believe that core of our issues are our disconnect from our emotions, right? Or the way we process our emotions, our relationship to our emotions, or more simply, the codependent pattern. Thank you. Of just being in the state of, oh, once this acts right, oh, Amazon therapy, oh, I need to escape my life for a while. Instead, learning how to treat each moment, whether it's your washing of your hands or taking a single step, as an act of returning home. Remembering that your whole life is sacred, right? And that you have the moment to elicit a state of joy or freedom, even in the midst of great challenges. And then from that clarity, being able to step into the direction that's in alignment with what your intuition, your inner knowing is saying. Do you ever worry about what if you're wrong? Sure. But again, that's like the finite, kind of like stagnant linear. I made this one decision and my whole life's got to be that forever. I've been wrong 1,000,000 times in my life, and you know what I do? I choose again. Every day I choose again. Every day I choose this life again. Every day you're choosing your life again, right? You're choosing your job. You're choosing your relationships. You're choosing the pattern of self-sabotage, or joy, or liberation, or forgiveness, or freedom. Every moment is a choice. The illusion is that, oh, I've been wrong, and I'm going to fall into a state of self-judgment. And now I'm just wrong, and I deserve punishment, and all of these things, and you just fall into this victim consciousness. But all you're doing is creating, with your own mind, working against you, unfortunately, what you believe. Oh, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. So everything I do is wrong. That's the unconscious intention you create for yourself. Versus, oh, that didn't work out how I thought it would. Stepping out of dualistic thinking into non-duality, seeing the continuum, the nuance, the colors within every experience. There is wisdom to be gained. If you step out of this rigid, oh, it's either right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. There is right now. And right now I'm going to try to communicate in this way, to play in this way, to enjoy sitting right here in the middle of this forest. And if I decide I don't like it, I experience hardship, doesn't make it wrong. That's just life, right? And that's the paradigm we have to shift out of. What if I do it wrong? Good. Maybe you'll realize that that's quote-unquote wrong thinking, or what the Buddhists would say, the ego consciousness, right? They describe it as 8 levels, 8 consciousnesses. All of your 5 senses are their own consciousness, which I find an interesting shift. But then there's mind consciousness, just the active mind, working consciousness. Then you have ego consciousness, which wants to possess and stagnate things. And then you have store consciousness, which is kind of like your subconscious, but it's in their tradition, it's beyond that. It's your past life karma. It's your future karma, right? It's your generational energy. So you can get stuck in the ego consciousness. And ego isn't necessarily a bad thing, but without a balanced mind consciousness of understanding there's no wrong. There is no wrong, dear one. There may be misalignment for a moment, or a misstep, or a misunderstanding. And all of those are points for growth and expansion into greater alignment and greater understanding and deeper connection. Right? Healing is about our capacity to hold suffering. That's what we talked about earlier. So once you learn how to hold the suffering of, oh, my ego, I did it wrong. I thought I was going to do this thing, and I didn't. And it was hard. It was rough. People were upset. I had to apologize, whatever. Cool. Go be a living being. Let go of your ego, right? But what that's really speaking to underneath the surface is this desire for perfectionism, right? The desire to never suffer or feel pain, which is understandable, but when you hold an illusion of control over life, something that is uncontrollable, all you're doing is creating suffering for yourself, because, dear, when it's going to rain, And you're not going to have an umbrella. You're going to be sad. I've been there many times and still find myself there on occasion, but I know where to find my umbrella now. So the real healing is understanding that, of course, you're going to be wrong sometimes. Get over yourself, right? We're part of Source, but I didn't create nothing. Whatever your belief is around spirituality or all of that, right? Allow yourself to be wrong and pivot, shift, breathe, find the joy in it, dance in the rain. Go wash your hands. Wash your hands of judgment, wash your hands of shame, wash your hands of blame, wash your hands of needing everything to be just so, and recognize that you're just trying to let go of the trauma of when things didn't go well and you were hurt, right? And instead learning how to meet when things don't go well or as desired with compassion, with grace, with acceptance, with understanding, or as Dan Siegel would say, COAL, C-O-A-L, curiosity, openness, acceptance, and love, right? It's okay. That's life. Shit's gonna happen. And hopefully it's not fatal. Hopefully it's not so dramatic as we like to make things. Of course, those things will happen too, which take a lot more energy and effort and compassion for ourselves and others to move through. But wrong is just a story you tell yourself because you don't want to feel bad or you don't want to do the work of sitting with it. But the beauty is, the more you learn to sit with it, the more you realize I can be experiencing grief and joy, paradoxically enough, at the same time. And that's something that people don't understand unless you experience it, and I can relate. And it wasn't until I experienced it after a great betrayal and something was awakened in me. All the things I've been practicing, all the affirmations, all of the intention setting, and all of the meditation practices. All the things I've been practicing, all the affirmations, all of the intention setting, and all of the meditation practices. And I saw myself about to go down that spiral, like we just talked about, that, oh, it's wrong, oh, why does this always happen to me, that whole thing. And I paused, and I surrendered the need for suffering. I surrendered my addiction to pain and drama. And I washed my hands of it. And I let that person be exactly who they wanted to be without holding them in judgment, without holding myself in harsh judgment. I chose joy as I processed through all the implications of that betrayal. And I had this beautiful walk. I went for a walk that day, and I was like giddy with laughter. You would have thought I was on mushrooms or something. Which, that's a whole other story, right? Because psilocybin or DMT or ayahuasca or whatever it is, we can elicit those things in meditative states, which is another whole other conversation. But I went on this walk, and I just felt like I was getting this great wisdom from Source. And even the naming of Source, it went from serious to playful. And it was just so liberating to hear. Suffering is a choice, unconsciously made, often, by all the conditions we've placed on our happiness. Not realizing that we can choose happiness at any moment if we really connect and stop and notice the miracles that we are living in each and every moment. And in that moment I asked, well, who am I talking to? And Source said, just call me Bob. I'm like, Bob. And it was an acronym for the big old beautiful, right? Because I was in nature and felt like it was moving through the trees and the breeze and the sunlight and the sky. And I loved that. It was just a freedom from maybe some of the heaviness that I had grown up with and I was holding in regards to God or the divine. Yeah, big old Bob. And of course, every name is valid for the everything is if you really take a moment to look, right? So, allow yourself to be wrong if you're wrong. And be wrong again. You're going to be wrong every day about something. So just learn to enjoy it and see the beauty in being wrong at times. Yesterday's ceremony was incredible. Oh, wonderful. I'm glad to hear that, Mariah. Mariah had a healing women's ceremony yesterday, and I think you used the song, or my track, Flow, which is really what we're talking about, getting into the flow, right? Okay, this isn't the right way. Flow with ease back the other direction, right? Flow with ease back to your heart space. Flow with ease back to love. Flow with ease back to your intuition. Flow with ease back to the stillness. Flow with ease back to the fun. Flow with ease back to the joy. Flow with ease back to your sovereignty. Flow with ease back to your authenticity. Flow with ease away from attachment and clinging and chinpa, right? Flow with ease outside of the cycle of samsara into the new freedom available in each moment. Every moment you can make a new decision. Not always easy, but you can. And you can allow yourself to feel the heaviness of the heartache or the heartbreak connected to that decision that you've been trying to avoid. And cultivate your inner strength. Cultivate your emotional resilience. Cultivate your inner power and authority. Because you already have it. You're so confident that you're wrong. You're so confident that you're not good enough. You just have to redirect that confidence in alignment with the good that is within you. And also see the humanity of it. That of course you're going to be tired and make a silly mistake or not see something or have an oversight because you're drained, because you're outside of your comfort zone. You're learning how to balance yourself in those new spaces. You're welcome. There was another question and I missed it. Can you ask it again? Foundation is important to balance. What is your foundation? That's just your belief. I know we like to think that foundation is important to balance, but what is the foundation of the cosmos? It's empty space. Yet we're still rotating around the sun, moving at millions of miles an hour in one direction, right? While all the planets are rotating around the sun. What is the foundation of the ever-expanding cosmos? That's just a mental formation. That's a notion that you hold to. And it makes sense because that's our experience. But my foundation is spaciousness. It's awareness without attachment, right? Taking that cue from the cosmos, which is a paradox, right? It's like the wisdom in this book by Ellen Watts called The Wisdom of Insecurity. Which I love it, which is speaking to the same thing from a different direction. Way to phrase it, but which way is up, which way is down in space, which way is left, which way is right, it's all relative to your orientation. I just want to say that to the person that was asking about foundation, I wasn't trying to be rude or be short with you. I was pointing out the fact that in those questions we're looking for an anchoring, instead of realizing that we don't need anchoring. We don't need to hold on to anything. The most freeing thing is the gift of non-attachment. Non-attachment to foundations or notions, but just to be present to everything that is happening right now, happening within you. Realizing that you are a part of it. You're connected to it. Everything is literally one. So if you can take time to detach from your notions or desire for a foundation, you can liberate yourself from the need, from the idea escape and surrender to being it all. The high moments, the low moments, the confusing moments, the disorientation and finding what Pema Chodron calls the comfort within uncertainty. Because anything you hold on to is just an illusion, as COVID taught us, as any tragedy teaches us, as any great loss teaches us. There is no certainty. So let go of the illusion of it. And then I'd ask another question, right? Well, what do I do without that? Right? And then you have to deal with your need or desire for it. And when you let that go, you realize that being here now is enough. And that is liberation. That is moksha. That is freedom. So only love, dear friend. Only love. All right, now a song. Take a moment, friend, to breathe in deep. Step back from the edge. The problems that you keep aren't worth your while. The tables will turn. Just live for today. Don't wait for returns on all that love you pay. Sometimes you might get burned. Oh. You're welcome. The tables will turn. The tables will turn. Go and live your dreams. Give it all you've got. Don't waste time on schemes. You only get one shot. Oh. The tables will turn. Go get lost in hope. 'Cause all you have to gain is peace and pure light. Life without that pain. Oh. Hey, LaShawn. The tables will turn. Ooh. The tables will turn. Forgot what tuning I was in for a second. Tables will turn. This is your gentle reminder that life will do what it always does. Change. There is no certainty. What has been will not always be. And what you cling to will always be taken away or evolve. But along the way, we learn to ride the waves of life with grace. unknown. I don't know what you're feeling, but I know your healing is coming soon. Just stay true to the love in your heart. It will keep you from falling apart. The tables will turn. The tables will turn. Tables will turn. So take a moment, friend, to breathe in deep. Step back from the edge. The problems that you keep aren't worth your while. The tables will turn. Go and live your dreams. Give it all you've got. Don't waste time on schemes. You only get one shot. The tables will turn. The tables will turn. Tables would turn. Laughing and crying at the same time. Sounds like all of humanity. One moment we're happy, the next we're sad, upset, joyful, playful, and free. But it is all always changing. You can count on that. It's a good thing, because the caveat is whether you can see it right now in this moment or not, it's changing for the better. But you gotta look from the bird's eye view, beyond your clinging, beyond your fear of the change, but to the freedom and awakening that the change elicits and offers, and lessons and growths, opportunities and possibilities, and things beyond your wildest imagination. The tables will turn. The tables will turn. Tables will turn. Be well, beautiful souls. Much love and light. Peace.